My name is Melissa Hurley. I'm 34 years old. 6 years ago, my husband died in a car accident caused by black ice. Our daughter was born 3 months early and was fighting for her life in the NICU. I needed $38,000 in 4 days, or the hospital would transfer her to a facility 200 miles away from the doctors who understood her case and away from any real chance for me to see her between shifts at the hospital cafeteria, where I had started working just to stay close. I called my parents 37 times in 2 days. My brother called once. He said, "You're asking them to lose $6,000. Be reasonable. You'll get Nate's life insurance. You'll be fine." They went to Hawaii. I didn't speak to them again until September 2025, when my brother found me. He had documents, he had figures, and he had one sentence that stayed with me. "Dad made sure you'd never forget what you did." What they didn't know was that I had kept every receipt, every voicemail, every hospital bill, with their names listed in the emergency contact section, crossed out in my handwriting. What they learned next would cost them everything they believed they had secured. February 12th, 2021. I woke up to silence. Nate had already left. On Fridays, he always left early to avoid traffic in Charlotte. Middle school teachers can't afford to be late. I remember turning over and seeing his side of the bed still warm. His coffee mug sat half full on the kitchen counter. His jacket was draped over the chair. I was 28 weeks pregnant. We had already named our daughter Lily. She was kicking. I placed my hand on my stomach and thought, 12 more weeks. Just 12 more weeks and we'll be a family. My phone rang shortly after 6 a.m., an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but I answered. "Ma'am, are you the wife of Nathan Hurley?" The voice was steady and professional, the kind of tone that signals something serious has already happened. "Yes." "Who is this?" "This is Mecklenburg County Emergency Dispatch. There's been an accident on I-77 North near the Huntersville exit. Your husband's vehicle was involved. He's being transported to Atrium Health Carolinas Medical Center. You need to come now." I don't remember getting dressed. I don't remember the drive. I remember noticing the coffee mug and thinking he had forgotten his jacket and would be cold. The temperature that morning was 28 degrees. Black ice from the previous night's storm. Nate's 2015 Honda Civic hit a slick patch at mile marker 16, spun, and struck the median barrier. I reached the hospital before 7 a.m. They wouldn't allow me into the emergency room. A nurse, Jennifer RN, according to her badge, placed her hand on my shoulder and said they were doing everything possible. Less than an hour after the crash, a doctor came out. He looked about 30. There was blood on his scrubs. He didn't speak right away. He looked at me, and I understood. "We did everything we could," he said. "The impact caused severe internal injuries. There was nothing that could have changed the outcome. I'm very sorry. Is there someone we can call for you?" I opened my mouth to respond, and that's when the first contraction started. I doubled over. The nurse caught me. I heard the words labor and 28 weeks. Then I was in a wheelchair, moving quickly down the hall, thinking this couldn't be real. Nate died 43 minutes after the accident. I went into labor less than 3 hours after he left for work. That afternoon, Lily Rose Hurley was delivered by emergency C-section. She weighed 2 pounds 4 ounces. She was 12 weeks premature. She didn't cry. I woke up alone in recovery. No Nate, no baby. Just the steady sound of machines and the fluorescent lights overhead. Later, Dr. Patel came in and sat beside me. "Your daughter is in the NICU," she explained. "She's on a ventilator. We're monitoring her for brain bleeds and lung development. Babies born at 28 weeks have about a 90% survival rate, but complications are very common. She'll need specialized care for weeks, possibly months." She handed me a Polaroid photo. Lily was smaller than my hand. Tubes and wires surrounded her. I could barely see her face. "Can I see her?" I asked. "Soon. You need to rest. You lost significant blood during surgery." That evening, someone from hospital billing knocked. "Mrs. Hurley, I'm sorry to raise this now, but we need to discuss financial arrangements for the NICU stay." The next morning, I sat in a small office across from a woman named Patricia. She had a folder, a calculator, and a practiced expression of concern. "Your daughter's NICU care is $9,800 per day," she said. "We estimate an 8 to 10 week stay. That totals approximately $550,000 to $686,000. I stared at her. Your husband's insurance through the school district was Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina. The policy has a $300,000 annual maximum. Your emergency care has already used $8,500 of your out-of-pocket limit. She slid a document toward me. We need $38,000 by Monday at 5 p.m. This covers the first 5 days, and the portion insurance will not immediately pay. Without payment, hospital policy requires transfer to UNC Medical Center in Chapel Hill. It's 2 hours away. It's a good hospital, but their NICU is less specialized for Lily's needs. What needs? I asked. She paused. The doctors haven't reviewed that with you yet. I hadn't even seen my daughter. She closed the folder but left the payment schedule. $38,000 in 72 hours. Later that morning, I was allowed into the Level 3 NICU, 8 incubators. Lily was in the 4th, near the window. The ventilator, feeding tube, IV lines, and monitors surrounded her. A nurse named Andrea showed me how to place my hand through the incubator port. Be gentle. Her skin is very delicate. Talk to her. She recognizes your voice. I placed my finger in her palm. She gripped it. I know now it was a reflex, but at that moment it felt intentional, as if she was holding on. I began to cry. Her ventilator alarm sounded. Andrea moved quickly. Her oxygen is dropping. Please step back. I watched them adjust the settings and saw the numbers slowly improve. I watched my daughter work for every breath. 2 pounds 4 ounces, $38,000. 72 hours. That afternoon, I sat in the hospital cafeteria with my phone and laptop. I created a GoFundMe page. I rewrote the description several times before posting. My name is Melissa Hurley. Yesterday, I lost my husband in a car accident. Hours later, I delivered our daughter Lily at 28 weeks. She is fighting for her life in the NICU. I am a substitute teacher without nearby family support. Medical bills are increasing quickly. Any help is appreciated. Please share. I posted the link on Facebook. I had 87 friends, mostly Nate's colleagues, parents of students and acquaintances. Within 6 hours, 41 people donated $3,240. I needed $38,000 in 72 hours. I opened my contacts and stopped at Dad. I hadn't spoken to my parents in 3 months, not since Thanksgiving, when my mother suggested that with Nate's teacher salary, we should have planned better before having a child. I pressed call. It went to voicemail. Hi, you've reached Roger Clayton. I'm probably on the golf course or enjoying retirement. Leave a message. His voice sounded relaxed. Dad, I said, it's Melissa. Nate died yesterday. The baby is here. She's in the NICU. I need help. Please call me back. I ended the call. A few minutes later, he sent a text. Saw your call. I'll call tonight. Busy right now. That evening, my mother called. Oh, honey, she said, I'm so sorry about Nate and the baby. This is terrible. Her tone felt distant. I told her directly, the hospital needed $38,000 by Monday, or Lily would be transferred 2 hours away. Nate had life insurance, but it would take 6 to 8 weeks to process. I asked for a short-term loan and promised repayment. She replied, Melissa, that's a lot of money. I agreed, but reminded her this was her granddaughter's life. There was silence. Let me speak with your father. I'll call you tomorrow. The call lasted under 5 minutes. She didn't say she loved me before hanging up. I noticed that. Over the next 2 days, I called my parents 37 times. I kept a record. Most calls went to voicemail. Some were declined after 2 rings. A few times my mother answered, said she would talk to Dad, and promised to call back. I left 19 voicemails. Late Saturday, I said, Dad, please. I know you're reading my messages. I'm not asking for a gift. I'll sign a promissory note. I'll provide collateral. Lily's oxygen levels dropped today. They're discussing possible surgery. Please answer. I was calling from the hospital cafeteria. That morning, I had started part-time work restocking supplies. Minimum wage, but it included a 20% meal discount. I needed to stay near Lily and remain productive. Sunday mid-morning, my brother Brendan called. We hadn't spoken since Christmas. Mel, I heard about Nate. I'm sorry. Then he shifted tone. Mom and Dad can't just produce $30,000. They're on pension and Social Security. You're asking them to liquidate investments and pay penalties. I told him Lily might not survive a transfer. He said I was being dramatic and reminded me about the life insurance. You'll be fine in 2 months. I explained I didn't have 2 months, only until Monday at 5 p.m. He suggested I contact a bank or Nate's parents. Why is this our responsibility? I could hear restaurant noise. I asked where he was. After a pause, he admitted he was at lunch. I pointed out that my husband was dead and my daughter was on a ventilator. He said he couldn't drop everything because I was in crisis. I clarified I was asking him to help persuade our parents to loan the money with interest. He said, "Manage your expectations," and ended the call. I called 14 more times that day. Each was declined quickly. Late that night, my mother texted, "Melissa, stop calling. You're being unreasonable. We'll talk when you calm down." I was sitting in the NICU family room. Lily had stabilized slightly, but her retinopathy was worsening. Surgery and potential blindness were being discussed. I reread the word unreasonable. I needed $38,000 to keep my daughter under specialized care. I did not sleep. Monday morning, the deadline day, Brendan called early. I spoke with them, he said. I was beside Lily's incubator. Her oxygen had dropped twice overnight. A nurse had prepared me for possible brain injury. Brendan explained that our parents had a Hawaii trip scheduled for Friday, planned since May. The $6,000 deposit was non-refundable. If they cancel now, they lose everything. I stayed silent. "It's not just a vacation," he continued. "Dad worked 40 years in insurance. This is their retirement trip. They're 65 and 63. You're 28. You'll recover. They won't get another chance at Hawaii." I repeated, "Recover from this?" He said I was focusing emotionally. Even if they gave $6,000, I would still be short $32,000. So what's the point? I answered, "The point is showing up. The point is trying." He insisted they couldn't solve my problem and shouldn't lose money on something that wouldn't fix it. He suggested I call Nate's parents since they were grandparents too. I ended the call and contacted Nate's mother in Florida. She cried and wired $2,500, everything in their checking account, and apologized it wasn't more. I applied for a personal loan at Wells Fargo. Denied due to lack of income verification. I checked the trade-in value of Nate's car, $6,800, with a $4,200 loan balance, net $2,600. I calculated everything. My checking account, $2,341, joint account, $6,892, Nate's parents, $2,500, car equity, $2,600, GoFundMe, $3,240. Total $17,500. I needed $38,000. I was short $20,427. The deadline was hours away. I called my mother once more. She answered, "Melissa, I feel terrible, but we can't keep bailing you out." I asked when they had ever bailed me out. She referenced $5,000 for my wedding 7 years earlier and compared it to the $40,000 they gave Brendan for his condo down payment. She said that was different because he was financially stable and repaid them. I repeated I would repay them with interest. She said they lacked liquidity and added that my tone was off-putting. I heard a zipper in the background. She was packing. I confirmed it. She said they would check in after returning from Hawaii and told me to calm down. She ended the call. I sat in the NICU family room and felt something inside me settle into silence. 4 days later, I returned home briefly to collect clothes. Lily had stabilized enough for me to leave for a few hours. The Angel Fund for Preemies approved a $15,000 grant. Emergency Medicaid was in process. We had met the deadline. That night, I received an email from roger.clayton@gmail.com. Subject, Re-Emergency. I opened it. "Melissa, your mother and I have discussed your situation. We feel sorry about Nate and the baby, but you're not seeing the bigger picture. We worked our entire lives for this trip. Your mother has dreamed of Hawaii since childhood. When you have children, you sacrifice everything. We did that for you and Brendan. Now it's our turn to live for ourselves. Asking us to cancel and lose $6,000 is selfish. We raised you to be more resourceful. Nate had life insurance. You'll receive $180,000 soon. You'll be fine. We'll send $500 when we return to help with groceries or whatever you need. Try to understand. We love you, but we can't throw money away because you didn't plan ahead, Dad." The message was sent late at night their time, early evening in Hawaii. Sunset at Turtle Bay Resort. There was an attachment in the email. I opened it. It was a photo of my parents by a pool. My mother wore a floral dress and held a Mai Tai. My father stood beside her in a Hawaiian shirt, smiling, his arm around her. The caption read, "First sunset in paradise." I looked at that image for a long time. Then I pressed reply. It was the middle of the night. I sat in the NICU family room with my laptop and wrote the response in under 5 minutes. I didn't edit it. I didn't second guess a word. I knew exactly what I wanted to say. Dad, don't send the $500. Don't call. Don't write. You chose a vacation over your granddaughter's life. I will remember that every day for the rest of mine. You're not my parents anymore, and you're not her grandparents. Enjoy your sunset, Melissa. I hit send. Minutes later, my father replied, Melissa, you're being irrational. We'll discuss this when you're thinking clearly. I didn't open it. I blocked his number, then my mother's, then Brendan's. I removed all 3 from Facebook. I closed the GoFundMe page. Final total, $8,100 from 63 donors. My contact list dropped from 487 to 484. No dad, no mom, no Brendan. Just Nate's mother in Florida and the NICU nurse station. I felt lighter than I had in weeks. In the following weeks, things gradually aligned. The Angel Fund money arrived. Medicaid was approved. I sold everything I could. My wedding ring for $3,200 at a pawn shop, Nate's laptop, the television, furniture, his clothes. I gathered enough to cover the remaining gap. By early March, Medicaid coverage began. In May, after 89 days in the NICU, Lily came home. She weighed 5 pounds 8 ounces. She was still on oxygen and would need glasses for retinopathy, physical therapy twice a week, and monthly specialist visits. But she was alive. It was just the 2 of us. In early April, the life insurance check arrived, $180,000. I sat at the kitchen table of our small apartment and looked at it for 20 minutes. The next day, I met with a financial advisor. You're 28 with a medically complex child, he said. Pay off debt, buy a modest home, keep a reserve. Don't touch the principal unless it's for Lily's care. I followed that advice. I purchased a small 2-bedroom house in Concord for $120,000. I put $40,000 down and financed $80,000. The address was 1847 Maple Grove Lane. When the realtor asked for emergency contact information and suggested listing my parents, I said, I don't have parents. She paused but didn't press. I accepted a job as a medical billing clerk, earning $38,000 a year. There was irony in processing insurance claims, denials, and appeals, but I became skilled at it. In 2022, I completed an online certification in medical billing and coding in 8 months. In 2023, I secured a new position as an insurance claims processor, earning $52,000 annually, the same industry my father worked in for 4 decades. Every day I reviewed codes, denial explanations, coverage limits, out-of-pocket maximums. Every day I thought about $38,000. The years were steady and quiet. I joined a support group for NICU parents. We met twice a month. I formed 3 close friendships. They became my support system. Lily reached her milestones later than most, but she reached them. She walked at 18 months, spoke at 2 years, needed glasses at 20 months, and attended physical therapy twice weekly until age 4. She remained small and physically delicate, but she was exceptionally intelligent. When she was 3, she asked, Mommy, why don't I have Grandma and Grandpa? I told her she did. Her father's parents in Florida loved her very much. What about your mommy? She asked. I paused and said, I don't have one anymore. She asked why. I said it was complicated. She accepted that answer. Each year on the anniversary of Nate's death, I wrote him a letter and kept it in a box in my closet. 19 letters, then 20. In the 20th, I wrote, Nate, I wish you were here. You always knew what to do. I miss you. I miss being loved without conditions. Lily does love me, I think, but she's still little. She doesn't know how difficult this has been. I believe I'm doing okay. I believe we'll be okay. I hope I'm making you proud. I folded it and placed it with the others. 4 years passed without contact. I didn't search for my parents online. I didn't check social media. I didn't ask Nate's mother if she had heard anything. I built a small, stable life for Lily and me. In September 2025, Lily began pre-kindergarten. On the enrollment forms, I listed myself and Nate's mother in Florida as the emergency contact. The teacher noted there was only one local contact and asked what to do if I was unreachable. Call 911, I said. There's no one else. I watched Lily walk confidently into her classroom that first day and thought we had reached stability. I was mistaken. The following evening, Lily and I were having spaghetti while she described her day. Her new friend Emma, a block tower they built, a song she learned. My phone rang. Unknown number. Scottsdale, Arizona. I almost ignored it, but unknown numbers were often medical or insurance calls, so I answered. Hello, Mel? It's Brendan. Don't hang up. I froze. 4.5 years without contact, and now his voice sounded casual. I have bad news, he said. Mom and Dad are dead. I stayed silent. He explained there had been an accident earlier in the month while they were returning from a beach trip in the Outer Banks. The coroner suspected our father had a heart attack. The car went off the Bonner Bridge. Both died instantly. I looked at Lily, who was focused on her plate, unaware. Brendan asked if I was there. I asked why he was calling. Because you're still their daughter. There's an estate. We need to talk. I told him I didn't want anything. He said it wasn't that simple and asked to meet. He was flying to Charlotte on Friday. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We set a time, Friday at 10 a.m., Starbucks on Concord Mills Boulevard. That night, I searched for Roger Clayton's obituary. It appeared immediately. Roger William Clayton, 65, and Barbara Jean Clayton, 63, of Scottsdale, Arizona, passed away September 12, 2025, in an automobile accident in the Outer Banks, North Carolina. Roger retired from Clayton Insurance Services in 2020 after 40 years. He enjoyed golf, travel, and family time. Barbara was a devoted wife and homemaker who loved gardening and photography. They are survived by their son, Brendan Clayton of Scottsdale, Arizona. A private memorial service will be held. Survived by their son, Brendan Clayton, not by their children, not by their son and daughter, just Brendan. Even in death, I was omitted. Friday morning, I arrived early at Starbucks, ordered black coffee, and chose a corner seat facing the entrance. Brendan entered a few minutes late. He looked older, some gray at his temples, dressed in an expensive charcoal suit without a tie. He raised his hand in greeting. I did not respond. He sat across from me and placed a leather folder on the table. Hi, Mel. You look well. I asked directly what he wanted. He asked about Lily. I told him not to pretend concern and to focus on the estate. He sighed and opened the folder. The total estate value is $1.65 million, he said. The Scottsdale house is valued at $890,000. Retirement accounts total $520,000. Investment portfolio, $185,000. Savings, $55,000. He slid a document toward me. There's no will on file. Under North Carolina intestate succession law, the estate is divided equally between surviving children. You're entitled to $825,000. I looked at the figure. $825,000. I don't want it, I said. Brendan leaned back. Don't be ridiculous. That's a life-changing amount of money. I repeated that I didn't want their money. He told me to think about Lily, college, medical costs, long-term security. I answered that we were fine. He pointed out that I earned $52,000 a year as a claims processor and said that wasn't stability, it was survival. I held my ground. He studied me and asked why it mattered to me if I declined, since he would receive everything anyway. He said it was complicated and opened the folder again. Inside was a document titled Last Will and Testament of Roger William Clayton and Barbara Jean Clayton, dated July 15, 2021, notarized and signed. I read Article 4, Section 2, the entire estate left to Brendan William Clayton. I was explicitly excluded due to estrangement initiated by my unreasonable demands and refusal to reconcile. I read that line twice. I asked why I was there if this will existed. He explained it had never been filed with their attorney and that he had found it in my father's home safe after the accident. Legally, if he didn't submit it to probate, it had no effect. I asked why he wouldn't file it. He hesitated and said he wasn't sure it was right. I laughed briefly. In 2021, he had supported them. Now he was uncertain. He admitted he had been trying to keep peace and hadn't understood how serious Lily's condition was. I reminded him that I had told him she was on a ventilator and that I needed $38,000 to prevent transfer. He didn't respond. He turned to another document, an insurance policy. Credential Life Insurance, policy number 84733092156. Death benefit, $500,000. Insured, Barbara Jean Clayton. Beneficiary, Brendan William Clayton, 100%. Effective date, April 18, 2021. I immediately recognized the timing, one day after I received Nate's life insurance check. In the application notes, the purpose was described as family legacy for financially responsible heir, with a remark that the daughter was estranged due to unreasonable demands and the son was stable and trustworthy. It was clear my father had structured this deliberately. Brendan confirmed he had already received $53,400 in payout with interest. I summarized the situation. He held roughly $1.5 million in assets and wanted my legal waiver so he could avoid a dispute. He slid a waiver of inheritance rights across the table and proposed that I sign, relinquish my claim, and walk away without conflict or public exposure of what happened in 2021. I told him that sounded like a threat. He called it a clean exit. If I refused, he would submit the will and present the narrative that I had cut off my parents. I reminded him they had not been dying. They had chosen a vacation over their granddaughter's medical emergency. He argued they had attempted reconciliation and offered money, which I rejected. He warned I would appear vindictive and that Lily might one day see it that way. I stood and said I needed time. He asked for a decision within a week. For days, I reviewed the waiver repeatedly. I calculated what $825,000 could accomplish: pay off my remaining $68,000 mortgage, fund Lily's college with $200,000, set aside $150,000 for medical needs, create a $100,000 emergency reserve, invest $307,000 for early retirement. I wrote out each figure. Then I tore the page up. A few days later, I scheduled a free 30-minute consultation with a probate attorney and explained everything. He clarified that an unfiled will is legally irrelevant unless submitted. Without it, intestate succession entitled me to 50%. If Brendan filed the will, I could challenge it on grounds such as undue influence or lack of capacity. My odds were roughly 60-40 in my favor. However, litigation could cost $50,000 to $150,000 and last 2 to 3 years. Even with success, the emotional cost would be significant. If I walked away, Brendan would receive everything and I would avoid prolonged conflict. He asked what I valued more. That night, I wrote my 21st letter to Nate. I acknowledged he would likely advise me to take the money for Lily's future. I questioned whether refusing it validated my father's accusation of pride or whether accepting it compromised my principles. I admitted uncertainty and placed the letter in the box with the others. Several days later, I called Brendan to meet again. We returned to the same location. He arrived with the waiver, pen, and notary seal prepared. He assumed I would sign. Instead, I told him I had consulted counsel and had a strong chance of prevailing if I contested the will. He urged me not to proceed, calling it irrational and costly. I responded that in 2021 I had been desperate. Now I was resolved. I slid the unsigned waiver back to him and informed him I would file a formal challenge alleging undue influence. I referenced emails from 2021 in which he described me as irrational and encouraged our parents to distance themselves, along with call logs documenting 41 calls and 19 voicemails. I said I could demonstrate that I had attempted communication. I also stated that I intended to file a separate claim regarding the insurance application, arguing material misrepresentation in describing me as estranged without disclosing the circumstances. He attempted negotiation, offering $200,000 from the insurance proceeds. I declined. I told him this was not about a payout, but about accountability. He argued that litigation would not reverse the past. I agreed, but said it would establish that I did not accept their version of events without challenge. When he accused me of acting out of revenge, I corrected him. This was about justice. As of September 2025, the probate case is scheduled to begin next month. My attorney believes the case is viable. Brendan's counsel maintains it is unnecessary. I continue to evaluate my motives. The inheritance could significantly improve Lily's future: education, medical care, financial security. Yet it originates from people who declined to assist during a documented emergency and later structured their affairs to exclude me. I am weighing principle against practicality. If you were in this position, would you accept the inheritance and move forward? Or would you contest it despite the financial and emotional cost, knowing the outcome is uncertain? Knowing that even if you win, you could spend years in court, forced to relive the worst moments of your life, putting your family's failures into the public record? Is it worth it for principle, for justice, for the opportunity to prove they were wrong and you were right? Or is that simply revenge presented in more acceptable language? Leave your answer in the comments. Tell me what you would do. I'll read them. Maybe your perspective will help me decide whether I'm making the right choice or whether I'm slowly becoming the very thing I resent. Because this is what unsettles me most. In 2021, my parents chose money over family, and now I'm choosing a legal battle over guaranteed financial stability for my daughter. Maybe we're not as different as I want to believe. 3 months later, December, Lily and I are decorating our Christmas tree. She's almost 5. She's in pre-K now. She has 2 best friends, Emma and Sophie. She can read 47 sight words. She still wears glasses. She doesn't remember the NICU. She doesn't know how close she came to dying. And she doesn't truly know about her grandparents. The court date is set for January, only a few weeks away. I don't know how it will end. Maybe I'll win. Maybe I won't. Maybe Brendan and I will reach a settlement somewhere in between. He keeps the insurance money. I receive half the estate. We both walk away resentful. So far, I've spent $14,000 in legal fees. My savings have taken a significant hit. Every time I write another check to my attorney, I think about what else that money could provide for Lily. But I continue, because this is no longer about finances. It's about the belief that when someone tries to take your dignity, you are not obligated to accept it. It's about holding people accountable when they abandon you in a crisis and later attempt to rewrite the story to cast themselves as the victim. It's about ensuring that when Lily is old enough to understand, she will know her mother stood firm, that I defended myself, that I did not simply step aside. Mommy, Lily says as she hangs an ornament on the tree, are we getting presents this year? Of course we are. We always do. She pauses. Are we going to be rich? I hesitate. What makes you ask that? I heard you talking about money on the phone. I kneel beside her. We might receive some money, I explain. We might not. But no matter what happens, we have each other. That's what matters. Okay, she says, returning to the ornaments. I just want you to be happy. I look at her. This small person who fought so hard to survive, who beat the odds without even knowing it, who has not yet seen how harsh the world can be. I am happy, Lily, I tell her. I promise. And that's the truth. Not because of the money, not because of the court case, but because I know who I am. I'm not the one who walked away. I'm not the one who stayed silent. I'm not the one who allowed fear or shame to dictate my actions. I'm the one who called 41 times, the one who sold her wedding ring, the one who worked in a hospital cafeteria just to remain close to her critically ill child. I kept every receipt, every voicemail, every email, not for revenge, but for clarity, to remember what truly happened. My parents believed they could erase me with a signature on a will. Brendan believed he could pressure me into silence with legal threats. They were mistaken. Whatever the court decides, whether I walk away with $825,000 or with nothing at all, I will know that I stood up for myself. I will know that I defended the truth. I will know that when they attempted to revise the narrative, I had the evidence to support my side. Whatever that is worth, I will accept it. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment. Tell me what you would do. Let me know whether you think I'm right or wrong. Share your experience if you've faced something similar. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this, about family, betrayal, justice, and the difficult choices we face when there are no easy answers, consider subscribing. Thank you for listening.